Well, thank you very much for coming down to the arse end of the King's Road, as we just discussed.
It's a beautiful end of the King's Road.
Yeah, it's a very long way, and for those who don't realise, it's the hottest day of the year, pretty much.
Is it?
Yeah, so you've been like on the tube. It must have been horrendous.
It was fine. It was all right. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for coming. And first of all, I just want to ask you about your business.
Yes.
And how did you get started? When did you get started? And what was the first thing you kind of did?
Well, I think for me, what's quite unique is that I started a business without the intention of starting a business. And I think in many ways, that's why people were quite receptive to what I was doing, is because it felt very authentic. To them. So I was working in magazines. I was a teen magazine fashion editor, which was the funnest job in the world. I had no intention of leaving it or trying to find another career. And I just made some T-shirts, partly as a part of an in-joke amongst my friends, partly as a let's see if I can do it, let's see what happens kind of thing. And I had no intention or no sort of strategy or plan about this would be my stepping stone to leaving magazines and creating a new career in fashion. It was really just a hobby, a side project. And they were slogan T-shirts, 4 slogan T-shirts.
Do you remember what the first one was? The very, very first?
You see, I made the first 4 altogether. So
okay.
I don't know which one of those 4 came first, because it was a drinking session with my friends, and we came up with them all at the same time.
Oh, how cool.
So I think the first 4 were Yoo-Hoo Gareth Pugh, Do Me Daily Christopher Bailey, Get Your Freak On Giles Deacon, and Cause Me Pain Hedy Slimane. So they were rhyming couplets about fashion designers, which I admired.
Yeah.
And I think there was, as I say, there was this sort of level of authenticity to it that the people in the fashion industry really responded to them quite well.
Yeah.
And I also think it was a time before social media where the industry was able to show that they had a sense of humour and show the personality behind the byline or the personality behind the label. And there was this real belief system that to be exclusive you had to be unobtainable.
Yeah.
To create this level of exclusivity and desirability, designers themselves had to be quite unobtainable. And
what year was this, roughly?
So it was 2006.
Okay.
So just over 10-11 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think they sort of struck a chord with the industry at the right time, and it allowed them to show that they had a sense of humour, and there was a sort of a nod and a wink to what I was doing. And also, in hindsight, I think they became a bit like a band T-shirt or a football shirt for the fashion industry. You were able to wear a piece of clothing that had Christopher Kane or Gareth Pugh's name on it that didn't cost the earth. They were £50, and you were able to show that you knew who those people were, so you were an insider of the industry and you had that knowledge, but also that you had a sense of humour. Yeah,
I remember seeing them everywhere as well, because they were, as you say, such a statement. They were great for a photograph, for a magazine and everything.
Yeah.
But it's quite a leap to go from doing something like that with mates and, to actually saying, I'm going to leave my job. You had a great job, you loved it. Was that a big call, to go, I'm going to actually go and try and make a living out of this?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking because, I hadn't come into the industry from being a student. I'd gone into industry and I'd worked my way up to a certain level in the job that I was doing. So I had a salary and I lived in London, so I had sort of responsibilities on that side. So it was quite nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I just really felt like I needed to realise the opportunity and give it its full potential. And if that lasted 2 months or 2 years or 2 weeks, then, I was prepared to do that. And I think also I felt slight comfort in the fact that I had a backup. If I left my job in magazines and went and did this and it failed, I felt like I could then return to magazines and journalism. And that was kind of just how I approached it. I approached it very much just like it was an opportunity to be captured and I had to see. I had to give it an opportunity and give it a chance to.
It's interesting you saying about the backup thing, because I was the same when I started, and a lot of people who start businesses and designers, they always talk about how driven they were and they knew they were, but I always had like a doubt. I thought, I was like kind of practical about it and thought, well, it might not work,
Yeah.
But that's what made me do it.
Yeah, because you thought, I mean, I sort of quote this phrase that if you have a plan B, then plan A is never going to work. Because I've seen that before, and I don't feel like it was ever my plan B, but I felt like because I hadn't studied fashion, I felt a slight comfort in the fact that I hadn't put everything into this one route, and should that not be the route, because also I'm quite open to ideas and chopping and changing, I'd happily change careers 6 or 7 times if the opportunity presented itself, because I like change, and I'm quite, it keeps me interested and keeps me focused. So
so I read somewhere, this can't possibly be true, but I read somewhere that you almost became a fishmonger. Is that right? Is that rubbish?
No. So this is a classic example. So in my school,
is this fake news?
No, it's almost fake news. At my school, at my senior school, we did this quiz with the careers advisor about what you wanted to be, because I had no idea what I wanted to be. And I grew up in a place called Ramsbottom, where talking about working in fashion and media, they were like, what are you talking about? Get a proper job. And the career, and so we did this quiz, and it was multiple choice, and it was like, do you like working outdoors? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. They were like, do you like people? And I was like, yeah, why not? They're all right. And it was like, do you like animals? I was like
fish?
Yeah, they're okay. And then they were like, the results came out that I should be a fishmonger. It was like, so it was very early on with like computer algorithms, I think, and it was just a very, very
that's quite detailed, though, isn't it? It's not like you could have this kind of
I know.
wide range of
It was
jobs,
like
just
it was
be a
like go and work with animals. It was like, no, fishmonger. So
dead animals.
So I have quoted that in the past, because I think it's interesting for people like young people. I think it's so hard, the amount of pressure that's put on you at 17, 18 years old, and people still talk about their choices at university, what they study at university, as being what they're going to do for the rest of their life. Because I have a younger brother and sister who've just finished university, and I remember for them the pressure that they felt on deciding what to do, because people still consider your degree to be, okay, that's the last choice you make, and then that's what you have to do. And for me, that wasn't the case. I mean, I studied journalism, and I did journalism for a brief amount of time, and I absolutely loved it. But my journey took me in a completely different direction, and I think it's really important for young people to understand that, for me as well, university is so much more about personal development and that education and growth as a human being, as it is about education on a academic level. And channeling your skills into a very focused path. And I think it's important to stay open-minded. I mean, I wouldn't have had my career if I'd have been closed-minded and been like, but I'm not a fashion designer. I would have had a completely different life, and one that I would have probably found still quite enjoyable, but obviously I think less fulfilling and exciting.
I totally agree. I mean, I was 31 when I started this, so it was a totally different career.
And what were you before?
Advertising.
Right.
And I loved it. It was the same. It was similar with you. I had a great job. I absolutely loved it. My main account was Adidas, so I spent most of my time working with Adidas. But there was something else, and I think I totally agree with you. For young people, I say to my kids, you don't need to decide what you're going to do in life for another 10 years. And they're just leaving uni or.
And even doing life, it's like you're doing. My mum has always told me you will have between 8 to 10 careers. And she thinks that's a good amount.
So what's your next career then?
I've no idea. I think about that often.
Can you do? I guess you can do different careers within. Your brand, can't you?
I definitely feel like throughout any normal working day, if normal even as a thing, I probably have about 4 to 5.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's the PR and communication side of it.
Yeah.
There's the design and creative side of it. There's the financial cash flow, logistics side of it. Yeah, the crappy bit.
Yeah.
There's, you know, the sourcing, the fabrication. There's so many, you know, because you are sort of working across all of the areas of the company, you're working with all the different departments. So you are encompassing, you know, 5 or 6 careers every day. So,
but would you ever consider, say, a House of Holland nightclub or a record label or a homewares collection or a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would you ever almost change career within the company like that?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think if I felt that was where my passion lay. I think for me, and when people ask me about advice about getting into this industry and any advice I'd give to young people, I'm like, only do it if you absolutely live and breathe it and you can't survive without doing it, because it is really hard work and it will take a lot of commitment on a personal, professional and emotional level, because I think working in a creative industry like this, you put so much of yourself into what you do, and in turn you put yourself out there open for criticism. It's a bit like opening your diary and asking people to read it and then asking them what they think, because you know it's a part of what you do. And I think my brand, your brand as well, it's very a reflection of you and who you are. And so if someone comes in and tears that to shreds, it's basically them saying you're a piece of shit. You know, and you're a bit like, okay, well, and you have to have that strength of will to understand that it's subjective what we do. And you know, one piece of work, one body of work that one person thinks is incredible, the exact same piece of work somebody can think is rubbish, and that's exactly what it is. It's somebody's opinion, and it's just remaining very focused and true and authentic to what it is you set out to do in the first place, because that can't be detracted from, I think. So if I felt one day that I absolutely couldn't survive without going into hospitality and opening a restaurant, and that's really where I felt like, you know, my passion lay, then absolutely I'd go for it. Yeah. I think it's very important for me to have I think we're both the luckiest people in the world in the fact that we get to be creative in our jobs. Yeah. And having a creative outlet, and also there's so many benefits, getting to travel the world, getting to, you know, understand so much through sourcing and factory visits, even understanding certain parts of industry in different parts of the world. And there's so much knowledge to be taken from the process of what we do that it keeps you excited and engaged so much.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I've noticed with you that you don't just bury yourself in the creative side, but you're across the whole business, and you obviously enjoy that. Yeah. How do you balance, say, if it's as simple as saying it's black and white, creative and non-creative, or creative and business side? How do you balance that? Do you enjoy both as much as each other, or? So,
I definitely enjoy the creative more. Yeah. But I have a part of my brain that is interested. I'm interested to learn, and I'm interested to gain knowledge. I think I'm a Gemini, so I think I have 2 sides to me, and one's very quite focused and black and white and is able to sit down and work on a spreadsheet and logistics and production and that side of the business, and the other side of me is very much focused on the fun and the enjoyment and the creative. And I think I learned from a very early stage in this that because I started with a commercial product and built my company that way rather than starting with an aesthetic and gradually building something commercial, I learned from a very early stage the importance, like one can't survive without the other. There's no point going and being creative and then having no money to make any of it and get it to market, because it doesn't realize itself. And for me, the real kick from what I do is coming up with ideas and then seeing those ideas come to reality and come to fruition, and seeing them on people's bodies when they've chosen to buy them and walk down the street. And that's the kick that you get from it, is that people are buying into what you do. Yeah. And so without the logistics and the financial side of things, then that, you know, the good stuff doesn't exist.
And that kind of leads me on to my next question, which was about, it's kind of a similar question, but it's slightly different, and that's the commerciality within the creative side of what you do. So we, for example, I put together a huge collection to begin with, and then we sit down with the sales team and everything. We go through it all and work out what we're going to present and what we're not.
Yeah.
And there's always a bit of a battle between, a little battle between what's commercial, and there are things that I want in there that I think say something about the brand and maybe a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of stuff which is like, if we did that in that colour, we'd sell tons of it.
Yeah.
You know, but it looks really cool in this colour, and I can see this being in a magazine. Yeah. And people saying, "Wow, that's really interesting." Yeah. But that one's going to sell. Yeah. Do you have that, and is that a daily struggle, or?
Yeah, I definitely have that. I think I'm able to balance the arguments from both sides. Certain members of my team would probably disagree.
But it's pretty rare for somebody like you, isn't it?
It's the classic story of, you know, the sales team and the merchandisers have one view and the designers and the creatives have another. And everybody thinks they know best. Yeah. And so I just think I will often bring in my sales team throughout the process, just to make sure that it doesn't get to the point that we'll present them with a collection at the end of the season just before they go to the showroom and they haven't had a chance to have any input into that. Yeah. And if I say we're doing that, we can then say, okay, we'll do one like this that I can use for the showroom. Yeah. It's an ongoing battle, and it's something that I find quite frustrating, that I think customers don't quite understand, is what the press want and what the press find exciting and interesting is very rarely what a customer finds engaging to buy. Yeah. And it's a real challenge of the industry to create both of those things, especially for small young brands. So for people to gain knowledge and awareness and understanding of a brand, we almost have to create things that people aren't going to buy. Yeah. To then get to the stage where we can add on things that people are going to respond to and buy on a commercial level.
Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes because the people who buy this stuff tend to be more conservative as a group, but they still kind of quite like the idea that the brand they're buying, they might buy a fairly conservative piece, but they like the idea that brand is out there and interesting and up there, I think. Don't you? I think it's important for them. Yeah, definitely.
And actually, from a brand perspective, we've been quite lucky. I think we've been quite lucky in that anything that's too commercial doesn't work for us, because which in some ways is tricky, because we've never been able to like create a core business. But people come to our brand for something that's exciting and bold and playful and out there and recognizable, and that's great for us as a creative team, because it means we get to exercise our muscle a bit more, and then I think it's and in some ways it's from a business perspective, it's not the best solution because it's very hit and miss.
So what do you like in wholesale meetings then?
I'm quite good, I think.
Are you?
I think I'm quite good. I mean, I just kind of
from America goes, oh my God, that's horrible. I'll never buy that. You know, don't you just want to?
No. I just go, oh, but you can have it like this and this. And I mean, often people don't give that honest feedback when I'm in the room. Yeah. So I usually in wholesale meetings, I just turn into the assistant and just make lots of jokes and get coffees and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, I'll leave you to do the business bit now, because if you don't, if they want to give some honest feedback to the sales team about we need more of this, this is too much, whatever, they don't necessarily feel as comfortable giving it as honestly if I'm there. Yeah. So I just sort of make myself scarce.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Shoes, let's talk about shoes.
Yes.
So a lot of people we've worked with in the past, or a lot of designers generally, shoes are often like a bit of an afterthought, I found. And they'll do their show and at the last minute they'll get, and often do existing shoes and just borrow shoes for the show or whatever. But you've always really been into shoes, I think.
Yeah,
And
we've
you've always
always
worked hard on
created our own shoes from our very first show.
Yeah.
We've never used a shoe like a stock shoe.
Yeah.
We've always worked with our own, and we've worked with different designers over the years. So the first show I ever did, I did a collaboration with Kickers, and we created our own Kickers, and that was years and years ago. And then I think we worked with we worked with Charlotte Olympia and Nicholas Kirkwood and Atalanta Weller for a long time. Atalanta first. And so I've always worked in collaboration with footwear designers
You might not remember,
throughout
but
the process.
we did some shoes for you about 10 years ago. You probably won't remember.
Which ones are they?
And we did these, it was for menswear, and it was like a really plain Derby shoe, and you sprayed them gold or something. Did you spray them? You sprayed them all, completely sprayed them.
Yeah.
100%.
They were like, they were a bit like a
years
triple
ago.
welt one, kind of that sort of shoe.
like really classic
Yeah.
English shoe.
And that was through Sam.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember
it's about
those.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've so usually throughout the creative process of putting the show together, I've worked with a footwear company or a footwear designer in tandem, and we've created the look head to toe.
Yeah.
Because for me, what I love about my job is creating stories and narratives, and I think, and that's about creating this fictional character through these shows, and then dressing her head to toe and building that character. And accessories, hair, makeup, all of those elements feed into that 100%, and they're all as important as each other. If you put the wrong garment on with the wrong shoe, it doesn't tell the story in the right way. And I really like people to come along to the show and really understand who it is we're presenting as a story. So I think we did an amazing job with these.
Tell
boots.
us about this. Tell us about what you did
So
here.
we worked on these boots for my autumn-winter collection last year, autumn-winter 18, with you guys. And this was an existing boot of yours that you already had in the collection. And then we worked on relacing it and adding these embellishments and adornments. I don't know how you would describe them in shoe terms.
Just like that.
Exactly. Okay. And the climbing rope and the outdoor feel was something that was used throughout the collection in other areas and accessories. And the woman we were presenting was quite tough, quite strong. You know, there was lots of tailoring, lots of tomboyish elements, tracksuiting, tailoring. There was some sort of light, floatier pieces, but they were juxtaposed with harder, tougher, frayed denim. And the woman we were presenting this season had grown up. She would evolved from maybe our woman of the last few years, and was much more in line with women that I spend a lot of time with on a personal level. And I feel like these boots really kind of hit that nail on the head, and they really managed to create that strength and toughness that juxtaposed with some of the lighter, floatier pieces within the collection, and also married really well with the suiting. And they actually got some of the best reaction from a footwear that we've ever done in any of our collections. So
Great. We thought they looked amazing. When we first saw what you'd done with them, we were blown away.
Did you
They
get
looked
nervous
incredible.
when you work in collaboration? So the way that the process worked with this was you sent us over however many pairs of shoes that we asked for, and we said we're going to customise them, and I think that's all we told you at that point. And then I'm not sure if we said, I think we did send you images actually before the show, didn't we?
No.
We didn't?
No.
Oh,
Just
no,
saw
we
a
just-
photo
Oh,
from
really?
backstage, yeah.
Okay, so then...
Yeah.
So do you ever get concerned that someone's going to bastardise your work? And
Not at all. No, not at all, because I think that's exactly what it is, and people know that whatever you've done to it, that's come from you, and that's really nice. And I think for me, it's that true collaboration. We always go on about collaborations all the time, and I think it's so boring when it's just two companies put their logos together on a kind of a stock product. And to do something like that, which is completely two worlds coming together, like that, and so obviously, I loved it.
Great.
I loved it. Wasn't nervous at all. No.
Oh, good.
No.
Good to know.
No, maybe that's the best thing to do going forward.
Just
we send you the stuff.
Send you some shoes
Don't tell me
don't
anything.
tell you. Be like, surprise!
Yeah. Totally. No, we absolutely love them and think they're incredible.
So then we've done a couple of other styles again for the next season, haven't we? So
Yeah.
we've gone a bit further with them, and we've gone with like a lilac colour and a snake skin as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's a really nice piece that we've managed to sort of develop as a joint signature almost.
Yeah, I
which
think
is
it's great. Yeah. And now we're on even the next one.
And now we're on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yes. Always last minute.
Yeah. I'm going to get
How's that
straight on the
there?
phone after this. Find out how we're getting on.
But have you seen
Think it's
those
all right.
pictures?
Yes,
'Cause
yeah,
they're
yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think
Really
they look
exciting.
Really good.
Yeah. We'll
And I
get it
actually
sorted.
think, again, so what we've done for the next one is work with a sandal
Yeah.
and evolve the lacing and the same sort of cording into a slightly different execution, which I think is a really nice evolution of the partnership. So I
Yeah.
think the House of Holland Grenson collection now has its own sort of
Yeah.
own sort of signature to it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm very excited about the next ones.
Great. Now, just before we finish, we've just got a few kind of randomy questions.
Yeah.
The first thing was everybody asks you, as they ask me, where'd you get your inspiration from? And it's kind of a bit of a boring question. Oh, I was just going to ask you, what's the weirdest place you've ever had inspiration for a collection from?
That's a
Has
good
it
question.
Ever seen something really odd or a person?
So
Something obscure.
in terms of inspiration generally, I just love to tell stories, and so it can be a woman walking down the street, and then it sort of triggers this idea about a made-up story.
So your imagination. You
yeah.
see a woman and then you create
And you see
it
a
in your
look, and you're
head.
like, she looks incredible. She looks
Yeah.
really cool, and then you start to build around that and research around
Yeah.
that and grow this narrative around it.
Would you ever take a photo of her to remind yourself?
No, because I feel a bit weird.
Yeah, that is a bit weird.
Yeah, I feel a bit weird, and like in case you get caught, I do, but they're always terrible and really blurred because I'm too
Yeah.
shy to sort of go up to someone.
Then you show people in the office and they go, well,
Yeah, what's that?
about?"
What am I supposed to do with it? But I think we did one show. It was called Rave Nana, which was the idea
Love that.
of old ladies and rave culture coming together.
Fantastic.
So we did all of these sort of psychedelic prints, but they were woven in interior sofa and curtain fabrics.
Oh, wow.
And then we did all of these handmade brooches using Swarovski crystal, but they were like drug references. So they were like strawberries,
Yeah.
bumblebees, actual pills, cigarettes. But they were sort of clumped together on mohair jumpers and twin
Oh,
sets.
wow.
So I really love the idea of taking two very opposing worlds and putting them together,
Right.
because I think that always creates something that feels quite new.
Yeah.
So Rave Nan is probably one of my favourite and weirdest
Love it. Perfect.
ideas. And that was from a film, actually. I do take quite a lot of references from films because I like the characterisation of fashion.
Right.
And that lady, it was from the Studio 54 film, and that old lady that used
Oh,
to be
yeah.
on the dance floor every night,
Yeah.
that raving Nana.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. What's the worst pair of shoes you've ever worn or ever had? I mean, at the
Oh,
time, they were
gosh.
probably your favourite shoes in the
Yeah.
world. Can you think?
I think some of my high top
Yeah.
trainers in the 80s were pretty bad, which are now back in fashion.
I was going to say they're probably
Yeah.
really hot now.
I think also like on holiday as well, maybe I had some like jelly shoes, but again, they're in Gucci now
Yeah,
for 800
yeah.
quid. They're all back, isn't
Yeah.
it? I think
You've
bad
never
taste.
worn anything bad.
Bad
That's-
taste is good taste now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a struggle.
I used to have some cowboy boots in the 1980s
Oh,
that
wow.
was absolutely awful.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had cowboy boots.
Yeah. Boot cut jeans and
Yeah.
all of that
gosh.
business.
I saw a guy in the tube in that exact combo this morning.
Oh no!
I was like, wow.
Wow, yeah.
Here we
brave.
are, yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Great. I think finally, the only other one I was going to say, and this might work or not, is who is there a person you would absolutely love? You would love to see wearing your clothes, and is there somebody you'd absolutely hate to see wearing your clothes?
So
You don't have to answer that.
there's loads of people that I would love to see wearing my clothes. I think there's a massive cross section of women. I love women, and I think that's why I work in women's wear. You know, and as designers, male designers working in women's wear, we very much idolise women, and you know, we create these characters, and all of our collections are sort of built around this adoration of these women. And I think that's growing up with a really strong group of stylish women in my life. So there's loads of women for different reasons.
Yeah.
I think I'd never really name them, because then the next
Sure.
person to wear them is like, oh, well, I wasn't the person that you wanted to wear them.
Yeah, of course.
And similarly, I wouldn't say who I would hate to see wearing my clothes, but
No.
the chances are, if somebody that I hated, that I didn't want to see wearing my clothes, did wear my clothes, the chances are she's bought them. And so it's almost a bit like you get a different sense of kind of achievement from that, because someone's chosen to part with their money to go and buy your stuff. You know, quite often when a celebrity or somebody well known wears your clothes, it's because you've lent them the outfit, or you've made it for them or whatever. So I mean, I would never. I mean, there's been a couple through the years where you've just been like, ooh, really?
Yeah.
But generally, I think, you know, anybody that chooses to and likes my work enough to part with their money to wear it, then good on them.
Very diplomatic. I
should be a politician.
Yeah, you should. That was very good. Okay, so finally, what next for House of Holland? Anything exciting on the horizon?
So, I mean, I'm just really excited by what I do, and I just am committed to growing and building my brand, and doing that in different territories around the world, and getting something that, you know, slightly resembles a global brand. I think that's my ultimate goal. I think because I started and came from this industry from a different perspective, I was never one of those design students that did their graduate collection on their own at a sewing machine in the bedroom till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I immediately started out with a team.
Yeah.
And so I've always considered House of Holland as being a brand.
Yeah.
And I've always talked about it as being a brand, and approached its trajectory and the growth of it as, you know, that of being a brand, and never referred to it as a designer collection or myself as a designer, because I see myself very much as a brand custodian. So I think I'm very much about building that brand and growing it, and making sure that people understand the story behind it, and they feel a sense of attachment to what we do, and that's why they want to be a part of it.
Great, love it. One final thing.
Yeah.
Have you got a summer song for our? We do playlists and stuff for our. Have you got what's a great song for this summer? Was there anything? You've just come back from holiday, so.
Yeah, there is, but
what's the one anthem that everybody was playing?
Well, it's quite rude.
Is it?
The lyrics are quite rude, but there's a Tiana Taylor song that we were playing a lot. But it just says "work this pussy" a lot. In fact, it's called WTP.
Great.
But it's a great song.
We'll get it on the list.
Put it on.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for coming down,
you.
and look forward to the next round of shoes.
Yes, me too.
Brilliant. Thanks.